Hello everybody, Megas here, welcoming you to an honest review of the game Firegirl. Now this recently came out and it's a beautiful blend of 2D, 3D, pixel art. It's a very unique looking game and it is considered an action-adventure roguelike with some elements of firefighting. But let's jump into what the story is and how it plays out. So in Firegirl, you obviously play as the main character Firegirl, and the entire thing takes place that you are becoming a firefighter. Now in this world, fires are not the same as in real life. Fires are these malevolent little spirits. You can see they kind of walk around, some of them attack you. It's a really weird concept. There is currently a manga / anime that kind of has a similar theme. I'll probably point the name at the bottom of this just to kind of go with that. So you play as Firegirl. Your father passed away 10 years ago when facing the Fire Lord. This was a giant malevolent creature that attacks, and it's massive. It's like the size of a skyscraper. So throughout the game, you're kind of learning that these fire spirits are being brought by somebody, and it keeps kind of like unraveling this tale. That is the main concept of the story. Now, the story does an okay job. It is interesting, but the way it's actually, you get these tidbits, is you will either unlock new people or you will find these fire tomes. There is 13 tomes, and they're kind of like scattered throughout levels. And after so many, you get like a little cutscene. There's a lot of things with like the mayor having the shady dealings, the CIA coming in and they're kind of being shady, and then even your boss is kind of shady. So there's a lot of stuff going around, but they have the character Firegirl being more of a mute. So things are kind of happening, but you're not directly interacting with them. So it makes it a little bit like you feel like an observer throughout the entire storyline. It's interesting and it definitely is neat. It just feels like you're very cautiously fed any details of what's going on. They just barely get pushed to you. But overall, it is an interesting take. It is an interesting idea for a storyline, and it works. Now, gameplay-wise, this is going to be the longest section because this is the meat and bones of everything with this. Now, in Firegirl, you have a lot of elements of vertical and horizontal platforming. And what I mean by that is, at least the ones I've seen, there's 3 different level types, and then built into those level types, you have randomly generated designs. So there's the typical building design. This can be multiple floors, this can be multiple buildings, many exits, multiple people. It's all randomly generated with that. You do kind of see samey boxed hallways after a while. Eventually you'll start seeing a hallway and you'll know like what's going to be coming up in that hallway. The second level design that you'll see is the train. The train is just a straight horizontal platformer. You're basically just trying to go across the train as quick as possible to stop it. There's really only 2 people that you'll end up, 1 to 2 people that you'll end up saving, and usually they're right at the end of the train. This is by far the easiest one if you want to quickly rank up and get more money. The third type comes in a little bit later, and that is the forest. And this one's, once again, there is horizontal and vertical elements, but it's very straightforward. The only ones that tend to be more nuanced is the buildings. Those ones tend to seem to have a lot more of a spider web of different pathways and such that you can end up taking. And sometimes you just might miss somebody by making the wrong turn. So that's kind of the level design with it. So after the level design, basically the entire gameplay rolls around. You are trying to find people in these buildings and then escape the building or train or forest, whatever. So you are looking for different characters, you walk over them, you rescue them, and then you basically try to do all that. At the end of a mission, you're giving a rank based, like if you succeeded or failed, you'd get the city funds. And then if you completely succeeded in the mission, finding everybody and escaping, you get fan donations. The fan donations end up being the bulk of your money that you'll end up getting later. Whereas with the city donations, it's always a static amount. Usually at the beginning it's $2,000. And if you do happen to lose in the mission, you'll lose about half of that. So each mission, if you don't save everybody, will net you around 1,000 to 2,000 on the early game. Now fan donations are wild in the amount they can give you. Some missions I've had give over 10,000, some like 4,000, some even less than that. So it's really based on how many fans you have and also some other things as well on the back end that I'm not too sure exactly how it's calculated. Might be based on speed. So that's kind of the entire idea behind the game, is rescue people, find them. There's also the tomes that you can unlock if you happen to find them, to unlock more story elements. But pretty much that is kind of the gameplay. You'll go out on the mission, you'll rescue people, you'll come back, buy upgrades, do it again. So now that all that is out of the way, the gameplay itself, in the sense of how does the platforming actually work? Well, this is where I have a lot of problems with the game. When you're on a horizontal path using your hose and everything, it actually works pretty well. There is a couple of weird death animations in some of the fire monsters that it comes off as odd. It's hard to tell if they've actually been defeated or not. And basically the best way to check is if you get extra time added on above you. It's sad because there isn't that visual representation that's easy to see right away. So that is kind of one of the main problems I have with a little bit of the gameplay. The second portion is you have the ability to spray your hose straight down and basically get vertical lift, which works to a degree. My main issue with this is it's hard to tell how much lift you're going to actually achieve. Sometimes you'll use it and you will launch straight into the air all the way up the entire building. Other times you'll use it and you'll end up barely making a jump or completely missing it. Now, the other issue is because your jump is also tied to how much water you actually have. If you get down to none, it's incredibly hard to make even the basic jumps, and you honestly can end up failing a mission just because you can't make a jump. This is my main complaint with that portion, is that without having enough water, you will end up with big jumps that are just impossible to make, and you'll immediately fail. This really kind of makes the game hard, and unnecessarily. The second portion of this is when you're trying to descend, you can end up having an issue that if you don't spray straight down, you end up taking fall damage. Yes, there is fall damage. Yes, it's only, I believe, 1 heart each time. So not a big deal. The other problem with this fall damage, though, is if you are hit high enough into the air, you go into this knockback animation. The knockback animation, like, it's basically you're kind of on fire, you fall backwards, and at times the controls become unresponsive. And I've actually had this happen where I cannot do anything, and I'll end up taking another hit from the fall damage from falling so far, or I'll be knocked into an instant death trap. This is some minor gripes that just shouldn't be there, and tying into the fact that there's also issues with the way the levels are designed, sometimes you'll open up a door and there will be a fire right behind it that you'll just take damage from. So those are a couple of the main caveats with that in general, but it is still, it's not a deal breaker. It still is good on that sense. Now, outside of the gameplay, we have stuff like the sound, which, I mean, I like the music actually in this game. I like the sound effects. The fire sounds are a little bit weird because they make this like weird gargle noise. It definitely helps out, and I love the like arcadey feel. Like when you rescue someone, it's like rescued. And everything just feels so like arcadey in that old time-based time attack arcade feeling, which I love. I think that's really well done actually in this game. I think the actual sound effects and everything are amazing for this game. So the sound I actually was very happy with. Now I'm going to leave you with my final thoughts on Firegirl. I have to say, I think this is a fun game if you are looking for that arcadey roguelike. If you're okay with the fact that you will be playing very similar feeling missions over and over and over to unlock new stuff, it's alright. I do wish there was more diversity in the buildings themselves and more of a structure that made it look different. Whereas in like when you walk into a building, it's like it's going to be like an apartment complex versus like an office building versus a restaurant. I don't know on like the different ones you could potentially have, but I wish there was a little bit more diversity with that. So if you're okay with that, it is a fun game, and the art style is very unique. The gameplay is fun, if a little bit frustrating at times, and the story does do enough to compel you forward. So overall, I would say this is a game I'm actually surprised I put as much time into. I did not think I would. I thought I would immediately drop it and get bored, but it kept me hooked and it kept me wanting to play just to beat my score, make more money, unlock more stuff. So if that sounds like something that interests you, definitely give Firegirl a look and give it a try. Until next time, this is Ron Mega saying, catch you later.